I have a philosophy that puppets are like pets. You gotta take them out and walk them. If it's just gonna be behind glass, it doesn't get to live the life that it was created to have. I like being in touch with the history of Marionette building and the craft of it.
I hand made 1,582 hats and scarves with my own two hands. That's such a beautiful thing. Most of my ideas come out of complete silence. We all need to allow the silence. There's so much noise. You need to realize why you're here. You're here to create.
When I start beading, it seems like I'm so absorbed in what I'm doing, I forget everything. I'm sewing and I'm creating a design, and I just don't know how to describe it. I just lose myself in it. When I finish a pair of moccasins, I sure hate to part with them. I'm not in this for money making. I do my sewing because that's my life. That's always been my life, from the day I was 6 years old.
So that was sort of a montage for many of our videos. We have a very talented video team, maybe 5 or 6 people that produce these mini documentaries all the time. Those are all from a series we call Handmade Portraits, where we profile individual sort of artisans and makers. This is what Etsy looks like. I don't know, maybe yesterday, maybe last month. So not unlike the experience I had before, although at a very different scale, Etsy allows creative people, anyone, to open a shop, list their items, have a whole sort of suite of software tools to help them receive and fulfill those orders, promote themselves, connect with other people, curate collections of items, and watch the site activity, right? Watch what people are doing with their items, what other people are liking, favorite, and things like that. About 96% of the sales price of any item on Etsy goes to the seller. We charge a very, very small listing fee, and then about 3.5% each time an item sells. So the primary kinds of products that are sold at Etsy are handmade, or sort of craft manufacturing, very small scale production items, as well as vintage items, and supplies for making. But Etsy is more than products, as I mentioned, right? The idea of Etsy represents this huge community of people and a lot of knowledge that they exchange with each other. These are just a few images from different Etsy workshops that people host themselves, that we help them host. Sometimes they're learning techniques for making, sometimes they're learning how to take great product photographs. Sometimes they're just giving advice to each other about how to balance sort of, work with play, if you will, with their sort of personal life, with their desire to sort of run this independent business. So the design challenges around something like Etsy are everywhere. Right? They're in your phone, they're on their site. Throughout the real world, this is our Etsy labs in Berlin. This is a former cannonball factory that is our office in Hudson, New York. It's quite a lovely place. Everyone works on the second floor. We hold sort of community events too. Now, just to set this in context a little bit, so you understand what I'm going to explain to you about valuing craftsmanship and keeping it real. The scale of Etsy, at the end of last year, so 2011, in 2011, Etsy had sold $540 million US in merchandise. So today on Etsy there's about 15 million items available for sale from about 14 million different shops. There are 40 billion unique visitors to Etsy every month. This creates some very interesting challenges that have to do with scaling the ideas and valuing craftsmanship, and sort of being authentic with ourselves. So I want to show you a few of these keeping it real moments, as I like to call them. This is one I'm particularly proud of. I don't know if here in Europe there was news of the SOPA and PIPA legislation in the States, yeah, of course. So there was a blackout day that was organized, and we actually debated whether we would do a full blackout, like some other sites, like some of our peers. We decided that wouldn't really be appropriate because our community's politics may not necessarily align with ours. We represent a lot of people. And so we tried to figure out a way. What we didn't want to do is hurt someone's business because we were trying to make a buck, right? Some people make their living on Etsy. So we came up with a solution like this. We left the site running, of course, and introduced this message, which goes on to a letter from our CEO. But what was awesome is that our merchandising team reached out to our community the day before and asked them to make censorship-related collections of items. So we have this feature called Treasury where you can pull together different items and make a little collection on Etsy. So thousands of these were made, of course. Everybody loves it when we do this kind of thing. So our merchandising team is sort of picking the best of them to display on the homepage. So for these 24 hours, they got this Stop SOPA message as well as all of these censorship-themed items from around Etsy. I'm pretty proud of them. This is an image from our Hello Etsy conference in Berlin last year. This is a conference not about Etsy, the business, but about the values and ideals we represent, about the craft economy, about small-scale business, about independent and creative business. So we like doing this. You probably saw the Cannonball Factory. This is any of you who've been to Berlin, this was actually a dance club prior to being this venue, but before that it was actually a power plant. We held some of our sessions in the control room. So the main event was in Berlin, but we did this in 12 other cities simultaneously, including New York, San Francisco, London, Washington, D.C. This is John Maeda talking at Etsy in Washington, D.C. And of course, keeping it real is a little bit how we take care of our company itself, right? Take care of our employees. Just a few weeks ago, we had a wonderful talent show, the first annual Etsy talent show. This little poster one of our designers, Kim, made for it. It's pretty great. It really comes back to this idea that we talk about a lot, which is optimizing for happiness. Optimizing for our customers' happiness and optimizing for our team's happiness. This is one way to scale the idea of keeping it real. So just a couple weeks ago, we had a workshop where we invited some of our successful sellers. Or really sellers who have fallen in this middle tier, right? These are not people who are selling an item or two a week. These are also not the people sort of making a living on Etsy, but somewhere in between. And we had identified that they had this challenge, this need, which was getting found, like getting discovered, right? Marketing themselves. So we put together this symposium about that and had lots of classes and education for them. Only a few hundred people can come to our space in Brooklyn, but of course we video and broadcast it online, and that's really how it gets distributed. And we have a photo booth in the space where this event is told. It's sort of a long story, but you'll see the setup here. We have a photo booth in this space, which is in the back. We're actually not using it at the time, but it's always open. People can go in there. And the photos automatically upload to our Flickr feed when someone takes the pictures, so you can get 4 pictures of it. After the event, we found that this woman had posted this, which I just found super endearing, really sweet. These things make us very, very happy. Personally, I'm very lucky to work with a brand like Etsy because it is already loved. I think a lot of times in the exercise of branding, we're working very, very hard to make people care about something that may very well be worth caring about, but not sort of predisposed to like it for any reason. At Etsy we have this sort of the opposite problem, which is people love it almost violently. And we have to figure out how to manage that really, how to respect them as we grow and evolve as a business, and how to be true to the things about Etsy that people really